Alright guys, welcome back, FarsightedMoto. Second video. So I said I'd take one of me modifying the bike, and as you might note from just a quick glance, I kinda already started. I couldn't sit still. So let's just talk you through a little bit of what's been done so far and what's coming up. And then I may take snippets of my next project, because I've got something that I haven't seen anybody else do yet. Kind of a cool deal. So I've got the Roundell lights on this. And I think we're gonna try and tint them. I don't wanna go too dark, but one of the mods I've done already. Put the key on here and show y'all. The mods I've done already were my tail lights. So you'll notice the undertail closeout. That's actually a Gillis tool bracket. I basically modified the tabs so that I could put the logo side up. I just didn't like the idea of a bunch of shininess underneath there. You'll notice the JL Designs lights. So I'm not sponsored by any of these, I will disclose. I purchased the product. You'll notice I do have a guy out right here. So I've already reached out to them. They're gonna send me another. Thankfully, their customer service is phenomenal. Just caught a bad one. I mean, not holding it against anybody. But yeah, so we've got the Gillis tool undertail block off. Like I said, I modified that. When I say modified, it's got these tabs right in here, you can see, and they push out, and then there's a spacer in there, and they give you 2 cap bolts to use. I've actually got the original BMW ones. I went ahead and pushed in these tines, and then as far as spacers go, I let the free space in there uptake. The one caution I'd have, you see how you can see light through there, is that is definitely not waterproof. So what I think I'm gonna do is take some rubber gasket sealer, something like that, like an actual gasket, and put it in there under there. For doing that, these side pockets have to come off. You basically splice into your own harness. So you gotta be comfortable with cutting your own undertail and reusing the pigtail. I assume you can probably buy the pigtails and weld them in, or solder them in rather. It's not that difficult. It was a touch on the time consuming side, just in that you do have to drill a hole at the top to make these work. It's a VHB, it's a double side tape. Also, by the way, the flickering is just a camera refresh rate, no worries there. But what is cool about them is they are bright. So that's your tail light and your signals, which I appreciate. So we closed all that out, cleaned it up. I also have a TST low mount plate bracket, so when I put a plate on there, that'll be good. I do have closeouts for the passenger pegs, but I plan on passengering somebody here in the next few days, so I'm gonna keep those on for now. I've got both covers, so that's good. Side note, if you have Hockenheim silver like I do, the part for the undertail closeout, or the overtail, the cowl, it's in their parts fiche, but it's not under the same thing as the black and silver. So I did a Google to find the part number. That's kind of what it took. I might look that up and put it in the comments here for you, or in the description rather. So my passenger peg block offs, my mirror block offs. You'll note the mirrors aren't there because I'm going to do this Roundell here, and I'm going to use that as a primary signal. I'm pretty sure it's not considered street legal, but I mean, you kind of see how I got my plate mounted and everything else. The only other thing of note is that I don't have a light on that plate bracket. If I was that concerned, what I would do is just get an LED, drill a tiny little hole, and have it flash above there. I'll probably do an LED to the original pigtail, like soldering something myself, just so I don't get the dummy light, because I do get the dummy light. I'm in race pro mode now, so it's not yelling at me, but if I took it out, it would yell at me. Yeah, with the Roundells, you do have to grab a constant power out of here. There's a GPS pigtail in there, so you can get constant 12 so that you don't trip the CAN bus sensor. That'd be the only real complication there. So we're gonna look at doing that. It's kind of being a talking head vid, so I don't wanna be too boring. Evotech lever guards. I'm going to change out these levers and these rear sets. I'll probably do the Gillis ones there too, because I really like their fit and finish. Evotech frame sliders, Evotech spools. I've got my Tech Spec side pads. This is the new C3, I think they call it. And man, it's cool. So it's like a grippy material over microfiber. It's not like they're snake skins where it's all rubberized. And it does still have that re-stick adhesive. So if you have to reposition it, which I did a couple of times, and I still think I'm about a millimeter out on one corner, just enough to drive me nuts. So I'll notice it, no one else will. So yeah, that's kind of what's been going on so far. I just spent a couple hours last night kind of doing all this. And like I said, I'm going to tint these Roundells, mount them, and then I also have my Puig Light Smoke, I say Puig, I don't know if it's Puig, whatever, screen, that is the race screen, so it's just a touch on the tall side. Yeah, so I'll probably clip in some of my videos and go from there for the tint. All right, so we're way zoomed in. No, we're not. So the very first thing with tinting anything, I'm going to be using the VHT night shades. I got it kind of close to my heater. It's not super cold, but you know, it comes out a little more even if it's a little warm. So I don't want that getting too hot, but pressure is good. Very first step though is going to be to clean these guys off. Once I do that, I've got some cardboard over here. I'm just going to put a couple of holes so I can sit these flush, and then just spray them evenly. I thought about just taping off the top and only tinting on these sides, because I wanted to match that, which is just a touch of smoke to it. So I mean, it's going to be relatively light, and then I'll just polish it and put it on and call it a day. But yeah, that's kind of the procedure. So that's what we're going to start with. Since I can't hold the phone and use two hands at the same time, we'll cut to the next step. But basically microfiber plus isopropyl alcohol plus wipe down, and then mounted in that cardboard over there for spraying. So yeah, that's where we're at. All right, so brief update. So I've sprayed a couple of coats of the VHT on there that I showed. So the part that's super dark isn't going to be what actually shows up there. It'll be the logo over there. But it did darken up the side of these markers, which was ultimately what I was going for. And it didn't even need that much. I just kind of wanted to match the darkness of that. That's got a little bit of dark to it. So as that cures, when I put on the caps, that should do exactly what I want. Side note, we got parts right there. I pulled this fairing off. I pulled back. I mentioned that clip before. This is for a GPS unit that these bikes can have, apparently. I don't know if it maybe shares a harness with the Adventure Series bikes, where that would make sense, because this just pairs with your phone. So that's just a blocked off plug. But I did test with my multimeter. This red and white guy is the one that has the switch key power. The only thing that I did notice, because it's the CAN communication on here, is that it keeps the power going to this about 2 minutes after the key's turned off. So where that's concerned, the only thing about that is it'll leave these running lights, because they'll have a clear and then an amber. It'll leave the running lights on for a couple of minutes after I turn off the bike. It's an LED, it doesn't draw very much. I'm not that worried, but it is worth noting. So what I'm gonna do is pigtail off of this guy, the lead for the harness for these Roundells. They give you a really nice harness with this too, so you can clip into the factory stuff without damaging. And then the receiver for the pin. So what I'll probably do is, with the inside of this, pigtail up both sides to one. I'm not a big fan of hacking on factory harnesses. I just don't like doing it if I can help it. That said, we'll do everything nice and clean so it looks good. So I can't do this with one hand, and I don't have any kind of a stand for this light. So basically, I'll just check on in with you as I'm going kind of here and there throughout the job. Next step is going to be to trim off these little tabs here. And I think I'm just going to pry on them and then just use a pair of side cutters, dikes, to clip the ends. I might sand it down, because it's supposed to be this logo, and I'll tape it to index it, but it's supposed to be this logo sticks on. They got some of that double-sided tape, but it looks like it's quality double-sided tape. It's not like the cheap stuff, so I'm not terribly worried about it. Oh, I need to move this so it don't scratch. While I'm in there, feel free to drop in the comments too what you think. Am I being dumb by putting any kind of tint in here, or being as far as I know, I'm the only person who's done this with one. Do you think it's a kind of a neat plan, or are we going to just find out when it's done if it was worth it or not? What do you think? I'll check back in a bit, which will only be like seconds for you because magic of time travel. Woo! Okay, so update. So you can kind of see right here, these had little tabs. So what I did was I snipped them all off with my side cutters, and then I sanded these edges down. Now you'll note the two-sided sticky tape that came from the Roundell kit. What happens is these have an inset. So if you look at them flush, you'll see it kind of sits up. So that'll sit over the top. So basically just to keep you from having a gap where those two parts meet. So I shaved that down so it's nice and smooth when it goes on. And there's enough lip on this, hopefully you can tell from the video, that when it sits down, that won't be on the way. And then you got the top side of this here, that's going to go right in that little divot. So it'll be a nice even fit. And then as this is drying, I think that color mapping is matching out pretty darn well to that. So I am quite happy. And top that off with, I think it'll match the smoke screen pretty good. So everything on here will be a light smoke. Plus, when I get a GoPro or something for riding right here, you'll be able to see through it rather than it being too dark. So all in all, I think this is turning out pretty good. I did get the other fender off, obviously. I already mentioned the hookups. Now I'm gonna start with the wiring. So again, I'll need both hands, but wanted to kind of update you. Oh, one other cool thing. So these are held on by these little teeth, and in the back, there's these notches. What I use is I have a nylon pick tool type of deal to push them. I would say be gentle because it is easy to bend the back of the plastic tabs, which obviously you don't want to do. But what I think is super cool about this is that right there. So for orientation, so you'll note that little Sharpie marker, that's that when I set this on, I can line it up exactly as they want it. But just in case, they even put that inset on there. So yeah, pretty cool. That's how she goes. So gonna get to the next one. Hopefully I'll have the wiring done by the next time I check in with you. All right, so another update as I'm going through. So I finished the entire thing on this side. And like I said, I think that actually turned out really good. Should look good on the bike. I'll post that up in a sec. But one thing I did note while putting this in, actually a couple of things. First and foremost, so what the directions call for you to do is put the Roundell in here. I probably still have to hook up to the bike. Oh, I do. And it's got these two little holes right there. You gotta take a tiny little drill, go right through there and get pilot holes on the backside, and the wires are gonna go through. I only have one hand, so basically I'm just gonna talk you through it. And the wires are gonna go through there. You have to have it de-pinned, so if you pin it to test it, I would say just use the naked pins as opposed to putting it in the harness first, because now I gotta de-pin that one, like I did with the other. But run through here, and it'll go through the top, and then you have this little metal clippy guy right there that slides in. You don't have to re-drill as long as the clippy guy lines up. But that said, you will want to make sure that everything is dead on orientated before you slide that in. I kind of fought with it a little bit on that one because I didn't quite have it all lined up, and then when I put it through, it wanted to push that wire. So just to be conscientious so that you don't push it out or cause any more problems or crimp a wire when you're putting a screw in. The other thing is, as you'll notice, we got some sanding marks on the back, so handy dandy Dremel tool down here. Where I had clipped those tabs when I test fit that one, it just wasn't quite as snug as I liked. So directions call for you to just snip them off dead level. That's super hard to do. So as tight as I had them, I didn't like it. So took a Dremel tool with the sanding disc, very, very careful, safety glasses, yada, yada. You know, not responsible for any harm or damage. And just Dremel those down so that the contact patch for this meets. The shoulder for that Roundell isn't super high, so that's the update of where I am as far as it goes. The only other thing to be conscientious of, and I'm going to cover all this, so I braided out that wire, ran everything through. I actually reused the factory connectors because I'm not going to reattach the mirrors. Going back, I don't know if I would do that. I might pigtail off of them. I found out that these are going to make the blinkers run fast, which means that there's not enough resistance on that LED circuit to register to the computer. So I've got this hot power all the time on, and I gotta clean that up yet. All the time on, I pulled off of there, but I guess it's not enough to tell the computer, hey, your signals are cycling. So I'm gonna have to either pop some resistors in there or something, and it should be relatively easy to figure out and fix, but it's something that I am gonna have to do. So next one you see, I should have the bike assembled, and I'll do a real quick demo, and yeah, I'll probably put that screen on too. There's nothing to that, and mirror block offs. Those are both common sense things. So next time you should see the bike fully assembled. So that'll be cool. Okay, and finished product video. So